I guess before we delve into the discussion, let's sort of put some context setting around this whole notion of agile IT and whether cloud computing is actually going to be an evolution in the roadmap of IT development or revolution. And I think it's always very interesting to look back. You know, we live in very interesting times. A lot of worldwide economies are in, let's say, various states of turmoil, and therefore CIOs around the globe are really having to drive the notion of cost efficiency and operational effectiveness, whilst at the same time responding to business needs of doing more for either the same or indeed less, and driving a level of agility that is new to many organizations. Now, there is a general theme in the industry today of driving agility into IT so that actually the underlying capability can scale up as well as scale down based upon business process demand, which really then drives how do I actually procure and service my business users with the IT they require. And clearly there's a level of notion of moving from fixed to a variable price model. So therefore, if I can scale up as well as scale down, I only actually pay for what I actually want to use. And therefore, unlike traditional IT environments, which were very fixed asset based, we're now looking at a paradigm shift of away from that type of fixed asset to a much more variable asset procurement and usage. What I'd like to do is to start handing it over to the panelists to really start thinking about the adoption of cloud. Is this real? What is the time factor we feel, and some of the challenges that we face? So maybe I can open it up to the CIO on the table, Kachao. Maybe you could just sort of give us your perspective, obviously having listened to and read probably lots of things in the press. And what is your view in terms of the take-up of a cloud strategy for end-user organizations?
I think we got to start by looking at the operating model of the company. In a conglomerate environment like SMW, I think diverse business activities across 20 countries. It has to start by looking at how we run IT across the group. In the past, we had disparate IT departments and also data centers everywhere, and running non-standard applications, infrastructure, and all that, and operations. It would not be possible to do cloud computing or of any sort, this sort of environment. So we started the journey by doing consolidation. I mentioned shared services earlier. So we basically started off the journey by consolidating the IT infrastructure into the major data center in KL and also a DR center. And by that, we also standardized the applications, to group ERP application platform, common messaging and collaboration platform, and also a whole lot of other applications around business intelligence, financial consolidation, and all that. So we have done all that over the past 4 years. We are at a stage where we, basically providing all these common IT, infrastructure and application services to our business divisions and entities, across the whole Asia-Pac region, and we are in the process of expanding that to other regions as well. So, with this kind of model, then we can actually, start to standardize and also virtualize the server environment, and that is actually the prerequisite for cloud computing. And we've done virtualization for coming to 4 years now, with Intel platform on VMware, and we are still in the process of the next wave will be essentially looking at how we can actually put in more automation, what we so-called automatic provisioning of the resources, like server capacity, storage, memory, and all that, and and also looking at how we can actually subscribe to some of the external cloud. In short, we are more or less pretty mature in our internal cloud. Mm-hmm. We are also looking at opportunities outside the internal cloud adopting some of the external cloud. For example, I think some application services like messaging and collaboration and office productivity software. In terms of infrastructure services, we are also monitoring the offering out there in the market, like Amazon and all that. But I think at the moment, performance is a key issue. Providing a server capacity over internet connectivity, I think, is still a challenge. Network, at the moment, in this part of the world, I don't think anybody can do on-demand network, services yet. So we are actively looking into some external cloud.
What do you think some of the key challenges are to move? You described very well the notion of driving an internal cloud, so therefore providing sort of same type of functionality that you'd expect from an external cloud provider. If we were to look at a roadmap and start looking at workload that would maybe move from the internal IT organization to the cloud providers, in your view, what would be the key challenges or inhibitors that would stop that happening sooner than later?
I think security is the main concern. I think a lot of the organization here in this part of the world still think that data has to reside within the company. Having a thought of data residing somewhere, a place that they don't know, is still a major concern. Another challenge is data location. Adopting public clouds also means your data could be scattering in different places. Integrating those data will be a challenge. And also protecting those data in terms of data privacy is also a major concern.
Sophie, with regard to end users and the use of Microsoft in, let's say, an internal cloud type environment, and indeed adopting a much more broader cloud strategy, what are you seeing out in the market at the moment that's sort of really driving users to a different way of working?
The way Microsoft looks at this is that naturally a lot of things are not in a big bang approach or whatnot. And like Kachan mentioned, it all starts off from stages of having a highly virtualized environment, and there are a lot of benefits from having that, right? So before moving head on to the cloud, it always starts from a highly virtualized environment, because you can actually save on a lot of the capital expenditure as well as the operating expenses as well. Then you move on to a private cloud, and this is clearly what the sort of trend we're seeing in a lot of our customers as well as the partners that we work with who deliver such solutions to our customers. Then you start looking at a private cloud, and the sort of benefits that you see from that would be in terms of more scalability, elasticity, in almost a nearly infinite computing resource, if you will, right? And then moves on onto the public cloud, right? And the public cloud, we do have our offering in there as well, which is called Windows Azure. And a lot of people are looking at that primarily from the sense that you are actually having on-demand computing as when you need it, right? So having said all those things, there are, of course, challenges, and there are a lot of perception that kind of hinders the adoption somewhat, and that has to do with the way things have always been. So it is evolving. Like when you mention cloud computing, is that evolutionary or is it revolutionary? From a technology vendor perspective, we tend to see that as something that's evolving over time, right? And sure, there will be challenges, but we see that the challenges also evolve over time to become something that can be resolved. Right? And I like to draw some analogies that from other industries as well. Right? A lot of people look at cloud computing as though it is it's a form of utility computing, right? It's metered billing, and having your own sort of private data centers or your own private cloud, if you will, gives you more control, more flexibility, if you will. But it's akin to having your own power generator as opposed to drawing power from the power grid, right? A lot of people may find that once they understand that sort of analogy, that you're essentially purchasing utility resources from a utility company, and that's when a lot of the barriers could be reduced, right? And that's for starters, right? I find that perception is still a challenge these days.